cut out.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if need be, I could just send you my footage for it. The only problem is you'd have Leeds badges everywhere.
Don't worry. Well, right, okay, here we are. We're off. Right.
Actually, I'll take them off. Be respectful. I am live. Need to tweet it out though. Do.
Going live in 3, 2, 1. Yes, people, welcome back to the Shoestring Budget Podcast. I'm very, very sorry for the delay. My potato of a computer has absolutely malfunctioned, but we're back. It is Halloween after all. The gremlins are out in force. I am joined today by my two friends here. I've got Josh, who is from the Leeds Lounge. How you doing, Josh?
I'm good, buddy. Absolutely buzzing, I am.
Good. I bet you are, certainly after the weekend that you've had. And I'm joined as ever by my co-host, Tom. How you doing, Tom?
I'm all good, bro. Thank you.
Good. Now, it's a bit of a different format today. Obviously, you heard me say that we have a Leeds fan on the channel. He's coming into the Dragon's Den. But be respectful. But obviously, we wanted to discuss things with other content creators and, hear about what their clubs are doing. Certainly after the weekend that Leeds have had, that amazing victory at Anfield against the not so mighty Liverpool anymore, I think it's fair to say. What are your thoughts on that game, Josh? Hit me, and I want to hear everything that you've got to say about that.
I mean, obviously, just in general, it's an amazing feeling. Going into that weekend, Leeds, as per usual as they were last season, not on form at all. Jesse's struggling, the lads are struggling all to pull together. And the frustration from the fans knowing that the quality's there and just things aren't working and they keep getting changed and everybody's the whispers of Bielsa and everything's just doing our head in. So it wasn't too bad because we went kind of into this weekend just kind of going, well, we've got Liverpool and then maybe do something against Bournemouth. So when you kind of go in expecting to get absolutely flawed sort of 6-7-1.
Sorry to jump in, Joe, but on our stream, only your audio's working.
Yeah. Oh, right.
So all of that what Josh just said couldn't be picked up on our stream. And
it's sabotage already. Sabotage.
There's only one other option I have, right? Bear with me on the stream, guys. Bear with me. This is still the West Ham graphics. Right, let's have a look.
Technology, man.
It just isn't my friend today. Okay, so Tom, if you talk for me for a second, and then if anyone in the comments can just let us know if you can hear or not, that'd be massively appreciated.
Well, just obviously, if our stream can't hear us, you just carry on with if you want, Josh.
Give me just 1 second because what I'll do.
I'll let him fit a little fiddle a minute, and I haven't tweeted out the stream actually yet. To be fair.
Everyone will just see things disappearing now.
Yeah, I'm seeing it up on my screen.
I think this is how I did it. Right. Let's try that. Hopefully everyone can hear us now. Let me just see if I'm picking you guys up on the levels. If you guys can speak for me.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello to all the Man U fans.
I'm hoping that it's picking you up.
I've just asked the chat to let us know anyway. So.
But because if it isn't, then what we're gonna have to do is we'll record the podcast, post it up, and then you guys can listen to it tomorrow on your morning commute, and you can hear all about what we've got to say. I think that is the only other option we have because
Katie said still not hearing anybody.
Yeah, right, we're going to end the stream. Really sorry to everybody. We'll post up a link at the end of the stream, and you can listen to it on Spotify or on YouTube. But
I don't expect him to come across to me, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Go across to Josh.
Josh's channel is in the description, so make sure you give him a click and a like. I know he's a Leeds fan, but certainly after that Liverpool game, they deserve it. So, sorry for disappointing you guys, but we'll see you on the next one. Peace. Oh dear
That's
me.
it. You're just gonna get tweets now from all your fans, just like, that's because you had Leeds on. It's because you had Leeds on.
Leeds are jinxed it.
When you had Chelsea on, you were absolutely fine, but you got Leeds on, and they've buggered the whole thing up. We seem to be a problem for big teams at the moment, so it kind of makes sense.
It does, yeah. I think you're carrying it on into the technology as well. It's spreading.
That's it. We're like a virus. Before you know it, we're champions of Europe, and everyone's like, "What's happened?"
I literally don't even know. I tell you what, could we record it on yours, and if you could send us the link later, I'll download it and edit it and whatever. Is that all right with you?
Yeah. Katie's come across.
Katie's come across to me saying, "I can hear it all on this one."
Oh, we're doing it on this one then. We'll go on yours, and then I'll sort it out on mine later. Oh.
And he's gone.
Tell you what, guys, carry on without me. Right. So the question I asked: how do you feel about the weekend? And tell me your thoughts on what's going on at Leeds at the minute.
Yeah, obviously the weekend was amazing for us. I'll keep it. I kind of went into a bit before, but instead of repeating myself for you two, obviously we didn't expect a result. The lads, massively turned up. Marsh clearly, got them ready and sorted them out. We had Tyler Adams that came back, which made a massive. There he is. He's back again. Which makes a massive difference. In the Fulham game we didn't have him, and in the Liverpool game that we did. So. Yeah, the weekend was just immense. Obviously, the first goal goes in after 4 minutes, and as a Leeds fan, you sit there and go, "Well, I ain't excited because I know exactly what's going to happen."
Yeah, but what a gift though.
Oh
what
God, yeah.
What a gift for that opening goal.
Yeah, no, and as well, Milner later on he helped us out, didn't he? As well, so he's true. Still leads through and through. He is. Jesse Marsh clearly shook his hand at it. Remember where he come from. So, yeah, no, I'm just elated, absolutely elated, but then the realism in me comes out, and it relieves pressure for the next game because Leeds are massively confidence players. They always have been. You take a look at that first season in the Premier League, I mean, everybody was absolutely gobsmacked with how well.
Was your first game against Liverpool in the Premier League?
First game against Liverpool in the Premier League, yeah, and we lost 4-3.
That was a great game, though.
It was an amazing game. Yeah, every time Liverpool scored, we equalised. Yeah.
Yeah, that game when I was watching it made me think like, oh God, are Leeds going to be a problem this season? Because we hadn't seen many teams do it to Liverpool.
Yeah.
With the Elsa board as well, it was such high energy football.
Yeah, I think that was the issue though. The problem with that is every Leeds fan will always have massive love for Bielsa because he was the one person that did what 15 managers before him couldn't. He took a mid-table championship team to winning the championship and automatic promotion, and then kept them in the Premier League in his first year. His first 3 years, he came third in the championship, won the championship, came ninth in the Premier League. I mean, you can tell why, sort of like you Guardiola and people like that respect him as a manager, and Leeds will always love him for that. The problem with it is we continuously said in that first season, teams will figure it out. It'll take them a season, but they'll figure it out. And obviously, sure enough, second season comes up and everybody figured it out. It's like, oh, okay, if we score first and just defend, Leeds are buggered. But Bielsa, being as stubborn as he was, didn't want to make the changes. Everybody argues, was he sacked at the right time? And to be fair, this isn't the podcast to go in. It's old news now. He's gone. I thank him for everything he did. Was I happy with how it happened? No, I wasn't. Did I think it should have happened? Yeah, I do. Did I regret that it was happening a week ago? Yeah, I did. But football's full of doubt, you know what I mean? You'll back your manager massively, and as soon as one thing goes wrong, football fans can be fickle, and they look for someone to blame. And sadly, it always kind of comes down to either the board or the managers. But
that's what I'm seeing a lot with Liverpool. With Liverpool fans over this loss against Leeds, I'm seeing a lot of Liverpool fans turn on the manager and their board to get rid. But it's like, it doesn't make sense because
you can't get rid of a manager like Klopp. Look, at the end of the day, I said I have no bad blood with any team. I really don't. Obviously, I want to beat every team we play. That's the whole point of football. You want to win as many games as you can. But for the Liverpool fans to say Klopp out is just absolutely absurd. It'd be like if Alex Ferguson had a run of sort of 8 games that were a bit crap, and it'd be like, oh, Fergie out, and it's like, behave.
Yeah, sort yourself out. Yeah.
So when he's been at the club that long and what he's achieved with Liverpool, yes, okay, he's having a bad season, but the thing is I always say with these giant clubs such as Man United, obviously the last few years, you guys have seen a dip in form, from that sort of top, from solidly being in the top 4 to kind of dropping down and having a bit of a shocker. All it's proving is that the quality of other teams is getting so much better. This young talent coming up through every team is just getting better, which means that the Premier League is more interesting to watch because, this time last year at Christmas, because, we're nearly there now, bloody hell, you knew that City were winning the league. City or Liverpool, nobody was near them. So
even at the start of this season, I think we all pretty much said it was going to be a 2-horse race between Liverpool and City.
Yeah,
well, exactly. But then look at what happened. Liverpool have had a bit of a dip in form. Arsenal have, in my personal opinion, Arsenal are the best team in the league. Not just because they're first, but the way that they're playing. They are the better team. They are the best team in the league. So at the moment, but as we know, that can all change quite rapidly.
Stop you on that note actually about Arsenal, because I think you've raised a really good point. We had an Arsenal fan on a couple of weeks. Rich came on for one of our Tuesday podcasts, and he said to me, "There's not a chance in hell that Arsenal are going to win the league." But having seen even City on the weekend against Leicester, they dominated throughout, but they don't. Without Haaland, if Haaland for whatever reason gets injured, they are a completely different entity.
Yeah, but you can see with Arsenal though, they still sometimes can slip up. Like they lost against United, and we saw it in the week against PSV.
But you look at it, I mean, PSV, I get what you mean. It's a Europa League game as well. But when you look at the Southampton game, they were robbed in that game. The referee made some absolutely shocking calls. You also look at the way they played at Old Trafford. Now, I know we won and we defended well. We did what we're doing, credit to Man United, they did well. But they played some fantastic football. They just didn't have that finish, I suppose. But I look at City and look at the Newcastle game, 3-3. There was 3-1 down at one point. They've got quality to get back into games, but they don't look as good as they did last year or the year before, in my opinion.
No,
City.
I think personally, and we've seen that Haaland is an absolute monster. He scores goals because he's bored, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I always relate, like, Man City are basically like an amazing version of Leeds, like a top tier. They play the same, they're just better at it. Do you know what I mean? And it's that kind of thing. And like you said, Haaland's not there, but then you look at the Liverpool game. There wasn't really. I mean, I watched that because I just like watching football, but I didn't. I couldn't really see either of the teams dominating in that game. And when Liverpool kind of got ahead, in my head I was kind of like, oh well, City will come back and they'll put 2 in and they'll win 2-1. But Liverpool in that game did well at keeping Haaland at bay, and and what Liverpool have kind of they've ripped the band-aid off there by saying if you manage to keep Haaland in your pocket, they don't score as much. So now every team's I
don't suppose that's the thing though. You can't go and beat Man City and then next week go and lose to Nottingham Forest and then follow up that with a loss to Leeds.
Yeah,
if a team like Liverpool, that's not written.
No, and and loads of people are putting it that way. Like I've seen loads of Liverpool fans on TikTok. It's like, oh, we've lost to Leeds, and even as a Leeds fan, I'm like, yeah, you should be embarrassed because we haven't won since August.
Your last, was it 3-0 against
3-0 against Chelsea? Yeah, exactly.
Is that how long ago it was?
Yeah, we haven't won since August. We've had a couple of draws, but yeah, we haven't won since August. And 3-0 against Chelsea, brilliant game. We thought it was a turning point, wasn't. We then draw against Villa, we lose against Palace. But this is our issue as Leeds. Is it's all well and good beating Chelsea, giving Arsenal probably one of their toughest games of the season alongside sort of Man United. Arsenal haven't struggled in any game, but bloody hell, they struggled against us. We played amazing, especially the second half. We absolutely battered Arsenal. And our issue, obviously, has been brought to light. Obviously, Patrick Bamford misses a penalty, which is just inexcusable for a striker to physically miss. If the keeper pulls off a worldy save, then fair enough. But to physically miss the target, you can't call yourself a striker to do that. Now, I do like Patrick, and I'm not now going to go on, Patrick Bamford out. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you can see that the quality's not there. And again, you saw that in the Liverpool game. Paddy had 2 clear goal-scoring chances and just miscontrolled the ball. And then you get
similar against Liverpool as well,
yeah. So and then you get Somerville, who's literally 20 years old, eve of his 21st birthday. Now, I'm not a massive Somerville fan. I don't think he does a lot, but I mean, he was there when it mattered. And if you actually go back and look at that second goal that won us the game, Patrick Bamford doesn't play Somerville on. He miscontrols the ball again, and Somerville goes, "Oh, for God's sake," and tidies it up and puts it away. So but again, it's one of them things with football. Is just it's a weird season this season. It really is a weird season, and you
got to think with Leeds though. They went and absolutely battered Chelsea, but after that, they never seemed to keep up the momentum because how are your last 2 wins going to be against Liverpool and against Chelsea? But then you're struggling against lower league teams. There's no momentum and there's no consistency with them. Which is
exactly kind of the point I was making before I open my stupid mouth and deviate away from the point. But it's basically what I'm saying is it's all well and good picking up points from your big 6. But if you're not picking up the points from the lower table, which you should be doing, so say for example, our first season, we took, I think we took 12 points off the big 6 in our first season. I mean, that's decent. But then we also picked up, we beat the likes of Wolves, we beat your Palace, we beat we were beating then the lower teams. All the bottom 3 teams, I think we thrashed 3 or 4-0. So we were winning the games that we should win and also getting points from games that we're going to struggle with. And then you look at last season, we literally, it comes down not only to the final day, but literally the final minutes. And we took 0 points off the big 6 last season. Absolutely none. You know what I mean? You play 12 games there, you take no points. That's ridiculous.
Well, I've got a couple of comments coming from... I found out I've got a lot of Leeds fan friends, which I didn't realise. So I posted obviously about this podcast this evening, and a lot of people have come out the woodwork who I didn't know were Leeds fans, and they want me to ask you some questions.
Yeah, go for it.
You probably covered this in some of that preamble, but I just want to get a more clear answer.
Yeah, I need you to ask me questions, otherwise I will ramble for about 14 hours.
No, it's fine. We are the same, so there's no worry there.
That's what podcast's for, isn't it?
Exactly,
you just talk rubbish for 3 hours.
Nobody would watch it if you just sat there and stared at your camera and didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Well, one of the questions that came in was, what are your thoughts on Jesse March after that win? And he's the person that's texted us and also is interested to know your thoughts on him in general. So after the win, and what your thoughts are of him in general. Are you confident he can keep you up as well?
My thoughts on Jesse Marsh is I really, really like the guy, and I really like his managerial style. The problem that I have is, understandably, he's come into a new team. He had a tough job in keeping us up, which, he managed to do down to the last game. A lot of people will say it's the players. Well, the manager plays a big part, There's a lot of people that are giving him stick, and, a quick statistic, which I kind of agree with, is that Bielsa was sacked after taking 7 points in 24 games. Jesse Marsh has had 2 points in 16 games. So I can understand why people... I can understand why people are saying Jesse out. My thought on it is, if you continuously just keep getting rid of managers that affects the entire team ethos. Now, don't get me wrong.
That's the problem, innit? You've got to start all over again with another manager.
And then you've got another manager who has different tactics, so they've got that to learn, and blah, blah, blah. Now, Jesse adapted, he respected Beelzebub and kept all the good parts, you know, the high press, the counter-attacking, the complete fitness that Leeds have got. He kept all that. That was all the good stuff. What I dislike about him is that he's kind of a bit of a mad scientist, and I don't know whether it's an American thing or what, but we come away at Chelsea 3 magical points and 3 fantastic goals. And the next game, we had no injuries, and he changed 4 positions. In my head, I'm like, if you've won and it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I never understand managers when they do that.
So after...
It confuses me.
It's blatantly obvious to say, from what Jesse was saying, he's got full respect from the board. Now, we all thought we lose against Liverpool, Jesse's gone. And
yeah, that was the general chat before the game, yeah.
And in all honesty, I don't know whether... Because then the next question that Leeds fans had was, but if he goes, who do we get in? So I would rather stick with him answering that for now. Absolutely chuffed with him. He clearly sorted his head out, because the substitutions I didn't agree with on Saturday, but I ain't a manager. And we won 2-1, so he got it right, I didn't. He got us the points. I'm happy. I think we should keep him, unless obviously a colossal thing starts to happen again. But I like him. I really do like him. He's very passionate about the team. You know, he was very, very forward when he came in after Bielsa to say, I will fight until my last breath to keep this team in the Premier League, but regardless of what happens, I will stay with the team. Now, that I massively respect as a manager, because he's clearly had the quality. You know, he's had a team with Haaland, with Wang, like all those players. You know, he's had world-class players in his side before, you know, and Leeds aren't full of world-class players. They're full of fighters, but they're not full of world-class players. So I like him. I think we should stick with him. People will disagree with that, but again, that's just football. He did the right thing on Saturday, and there's very few people... Well, I say that, not this season, but there's very few people that can go to... Well, in fact, actually, I'm lying. There is nobody that could have gone to Anfield in the past 71 games and done what we did on Saturday. I'm not saying... I'm not saying... Yeah, I'm not coming across like Leeds are the best, but when you look at it that way, statistics... I fully agree with you. 71 games they've been undefeated at home, or Van Dijk has never ever lost in 71 games at Anfield. And... Van Dijk was marking Somerville on Saturday, so that tells you all it needs to know. Leeds needed the points.
For the first goal as well, wasn't he, Van Dijk?
Yeah, he was.
But he just didn't obviously expect the pass back. When by the time he's running back, it was too late.
My favourite thing I've seen is somebody has edited it like they're playing FIFA, and when Van Dijk falls over, it says, "Please reconnect controller," and it had me absolutely howling with laughter. So yeah, basically, Marsh, like him. I understand he's got his faults, but I think, you know, with the signings that he's brought in, and I think Liverpool has taught him a lot, and I think he's a very smart man, and he'll learn from Liverpool. He'll go, right, if that's how we can play, that's what we need to keep doing. And when it gels, clearly it works. So he just needs to keep his head on, keep the same team for Bournemouth, and keep fighting for them 3. Because if we get these 3 points against Bournemouth, going into obviously the World Cup, we can just kind of de-stress a bit, get the winter training in, and crack on after Christmas. So Marsh, like him, don't always agree with him.
Well, one manager that's been under pressure, obviously, is Jesse Marsh, and then now obviously the other manager in the other dugout was Jurgen Klopp. Now I know we've obviously all said that he's almost unsackable, you know, because of everything that he's done for the club. But does there come a point in their season where we have to be realistic about this, take the emotion out of it, and look at things from a pragmatic point of view? Is there a point in this season where you think Jurgen Klopp has to step away?
I don't think so. I think you look at what he's done for him, and I feel like Liverpool always have a bad start to the season. because they did last season, and then they just came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you've still got to give him the full season because he still could get top 4. Because there isn't that many points. There isn't that many points in it. So I think it's still too early to judge. So you can't just go ahead and just start sack a manager like Klopp. It can't happen.
Well, they're what?
If they do that.
They're 5 points off. 5 points off the bottom 3, but 8 points off the top 6.
Yeah, it's still doable.
You know what I mean?
Still very, very early into the league.
You know what I mean?
No, it's just I'm just intrigued to hear what other fans from other clubs think, because straight after that game, obviously the reactionaries were Klopp out, and it was mainly, to be fair, in the Twitter sphere. It wasn't. I know one Liverpool fan that has come out and said it's time for Klopp to go. I'm just intrigued.
Not Irish, is he?
He was actually, yeah, he was Irish.
Call the season off. Just call it off.
That's it. This season doesn't count.
This season doesn't count. It's a disgrace.
Oh, mate, I hate him.
Oh man, the problem is that I've never seen a manager in his position with his renown that's sort of struggling as badly as Liverpool are this season, or struggling to make anything happen. I've just never seen.
All you need to do is just look 6 places below him where we are. I mean, everybody's saying Liverpool is. I don't think, in all honesty, and with respect for other teams and other managers, as a Leeds fan, I don't actually think I can commentate, because in my head, if we had a manager like Klopp, yes, okay, every season you should be challenging for Premier League. That goes without saying. But from a team like us, like, in my head, the best thing Leeds can do for the next 3 years is finish 14th, 15th this season, then go a couple of places up next season. The next 3 years we need to solidify the team, and then start every season, kind of like Man United will. Like, Man United will never come into a season going, oh, I hope we don't get relegated. They've got too much quality. Same with Liverpool, the likes of sort of your West Ham, Tottenham, and Man City. They never have to worry about relegation. So I can't really comment on it. I think Liverpool fans are dumb because they're looking at what he's doing now and not what he's done for them.
But that's the kind of point where I'm trying to, I guess I'm trying to gauge it, because I'm thinking, do you hold a manager for another, let's say, 5 games, and based on current form, they win maybe one of those and draw one and maybe lose the others? How long do you keep on going with a manager like that is in a team that is struggling? And I'm not even saying it's Klopp's fault. I look at the way Liverpool players are. I look at people like Darwin Núñez, and he has cost Liverpool some serious points this season.
Yeah.
His
they've all had a big dip in form, like Trent especially,
massively.
Van Dijk.
The thing is, though, is that, do you not find, like, especially being like Man United fans as well, absolute giants of the sport, I always say, when you're up at the top, there's only one way to go, and you have to fight for your life to remain at the top. Because I tell you something, it's easier to come down than it is to climb up in the Premier League, hugely. Now, the teams that have solidified sort of the top 4, in and out of the top 4, top 6, top 8, they're the teams that very rarely changes. You know which teams are going to finish in the top 8, or at least 6 of them. The top 6, you know what the top 6 are going to be pretty much every season. 1 or 2 might change, but you pretty much know. Now, Liverpool have obviously had a poor start to the season, and a lot of people, justify a worse start than Leeds, because you kind of expect it from Leeds, but you don't. So it almost, I get what you're saying, it almost makes it worse. That's
what I'm looking at it, because for Liverpool and their stature, and the fact that last season they went toe-to-toe with Manchester City, lost out by a single point on the last day. They went all the way to the Champions League final. They won 2 of the finals. They literally played every single game that was possible. So I get there's going to be a bit of overhang. But we're 12 games in now. I think Liverpool are 12 games as well. They're 12 games in. They've lost recently to Nottingham Forest, to Leeds, who are both in relegation form, if not in the relegation zone.
Yeah, not anymore, for now.
Thank God for your 3 points. But they drew with Fulham on the opening day. Now, the opening day can always be a bit hit and miss, because you've got new teams coming up that want to, flex a little bit. I get that. But Man City is the only decent result that they've had in the whole of the season. And I get we're 12 games in; it's still early days, but 12 games is still a long way in the season. It's still a fair. It's not like we're talking 4 games, 5 games. This is a fair whack.
I feel like I feel like a couple of your fans have come over here, so it's only respectful to kind of at least read the comments from them. So
please
I've got
I can't see any comments, so please chuck out any.
Yeah. So I've got Peach United POV here. So hi for that. He said that that Nonto's a good signing. Yeah, he is a good signing for us. We'll probably end up touching on the signings later on anyway. So I'll keep on the topic for now because you've commented on that. So yeah, he basically said no one's unsackable. If they're still 9th after 20 games, he's got to go. Thoroughly agree with that. I think that's a pretty much nobody is unsackable in this business. There's a lot of good managers out there and probably amazing managers that we've never heard of. You know, when we first got Bielsa in, everyone was like, who? So, you know, there's a lot of quality out there. So I agree with that. I think it's respectful to Klopp to give him the opportunity to come back. But I think the board would have a very difficult decision because it would be hard, wouldn't it? You know, it would be hard for a team like that to part ways with a manager like Klopp because, you know, for the past sort of 5 or 6 seasons, the 2 best managers in the Premier League have been Guardiola and Klopp.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Do you think that from what Liverpool have won whilst Klopp's been the manager, do you think that's enough for them to, you know? I think it's pretty
enough.
Safe at the minute.
I think it's enough for them to give him the chance. Yeah. I don't think because football is a very much what have you done for me lately sport. You know, it's you look at the likes again at Man United, how many titles they've won, but it's like what have you done for me lately kind of situation. And you know, for teams like that, you know, do you think if Guardiola keeps winning the Premier League? He just keeps winning it, like, for fun. But, you know, he's not really winning a lot more. So would you also argue that eventually they're going, yeah, okay, you're winning the Premier League, which is amazing, but why are you not winning all the other stuff as well? And, you know, when Guardiola's given the question, what would you rather win, this, and this, he always says the Premier League, which I understand as a Premier League manager.
I think it's always the Champions League, though, isn't it? It's
well,
the Champions
surely
League is the end game, yeah.
It is the ultimate, isn't it? Because that doesn't just solidify you as the best team in Britain. It solidifies you as the best team in Europe, and you could then essentially argue, apart from international teams, the best team in the world, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think what you were saying, Tom, is right there. I think he's done enough in the past for him to maybe get a little bit longer than he should, but I don't think he's done enough. I agree with Pete there. If basically he doesn't sort it out by the end of the season, I don't think he'll be back next season.
Well, there's that thing in there about Klopp with his 7th season curse.
Yeah.
You and Dwight have been on at me about this, and I laughed at you when you first came up. You started the season, you pretty much said 7-year curse, and I was like, no way. And then, yeah, it's proven to be true. It's really proven to be true. Moving quickly on to some Manchester United stuff. Now, obviously, I'm not sure if you've seen any of us play any of our games this season. We've just recently beaten West Ham by 1-0. But there's some news that came out today that I just really want to quickly touch on, and I want to get your thoughts on as well, Josh, about this. So, Graham Souness, the man of the hour, the man of wisdom, has basically come out and he's done 2 things today, which is just... Firstly, he has criticised our centre-back, Lisandro Martinez, who has been absolutely world-class.
He's been our best player. I don't understand it.
And you know, I don't know if you've seen him play or anything like that. He's arguably one of the best centre backs in the Premier League, I would say, at this current moment.
I would probably even argue to say he's probably one of the best centre backs in the world, to be honest.
Yeah, he is unreal. But Graham Souness today came out and again questioned his height and has also put Harry Maguire in a team of the week.
Oh my God! I'm not even a Man U fan. As an England fan, I want to strangle Southgate for putting him back in the squad. He is probably... I mean, fair enough. I did see some of the highlights the other day. Okay, he did quite well against West Ham. He wasn't as shocking as he has been in the past. Now, as a Leeds fan, I like watching Harry Maguire because I like going, we're not the only ones with a terrible defender. But it's hard. It's hard for me because the quality that he possesses, he's kind of like, he reminds me of like, I'm sorry that I keep kind of relating to Leeds players, but that's kind of what I've already got to go off. Like Jack Harrison, who plays for us, is literally hot and cold. He can have the game of his life and absolutely just everything is flawed. I mean, he's probably got, I don't know if you probably won't seen a lot of Harrison, but when given the chance, he's probably got one of
I do watch a lot of Leeds games, and
he's got probably
on and off.
He's got one of the best controls in the league. Now, I'll get a lot of stick for that, and I don't care. He generally has. He has one of the best controls in the league. The problem is that it doesn't always work, and that's the issue. He's hot and cold Harrison. Now, I love him a bit, and I've seen that Maguire is kind of the same. Now, obviously, not watching every Man United game, I won't know from like a consistency point of view. All I see is the TikToks of the Harry Maguire, and and that kind of trend there. And obviously, and I only really see him play for England, and obviously the Euros last year, he wasn't the best, and he scores that goal, and I think it was it Roy Keane that said. He didn't deserve to celebrate. He said how he's played for Man United, he had absolutely no right to celebrate that goal when he's playing against shopkeepers and farmers.
Yeah.
So
no, it was right.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think your centre back should get any stick whatsoever. I
think it's an absolute joke how he's being brought into it just because based on his height. Jamie Carragher as well. Obviously, quite famously, before he'd even kicked a ball, questioned Martinez's ability based on his height. Now, the only game I've really seen him struggle in was the Man City game.
Mm-hmm.
Every defender in the league has suffered against Man City.
They always will.
Apart from Liverpool, ironically. Yeah, I just find it really bizarre. And obviously, I don't know if you've seen much of him, but I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts, both of your thoughts on Martinez, and I know I'm glad you've kind of said that he's one of the best in Europe because I really do. I love him. I think he's fantastic.
I think he is his class, and I think it's in this day and age. I think it's a bit ridiculous and almost childish. Yes, okay, he's a centre back and he's not maybe the tallest, but then when you perform to the ability that he does, surely then it doesn't matter. Because I've seen some tall centre backs that are absolutely shocking. So
I think he's proven that height doesn't matter.
Well, clearly not.
I see he still wins headers.
If he's doing his job and he's doing it well, then why the hell would you criticise him for that? Oh, he could be taller. Well, you can't control that. You hired him, and you hired him for his quality, and he's coming through on that quality game after game after game after game. It's not. I think what needs to be looked at is not necessarily his performance, but those that are around him. Because from what I've seen in some games that I've watched, the odd half here and there, is that he seems to just be picking up a lot of slack. And it seems to be, Maguire makes a mistake, and it's that old thing of going back to school. It's like you can have a kid that's like really crap at school, and as soon as they do one thing right, they get a load of praise. But then as soon as something slightly goes wrong for the kid that always does amazing, they get an absolute hammering for it, and it's just it's not fair. And it's not as balanced. If you're playing badly, you need to be bollocked for it. Excuse me, French. If you're playing well, you need continuous praise. I completely agree with that. And if those are the kind of things that he's kind of saying, then I'd be losing a bit of faith in kind of in their position, and as to why they're kind of turning around on him and not addressing, they're clearly ignoring issues in other areas that are accentuating that fact of if he has one little slip up, it's the end of the world, when 90% of the time he's world class.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's just a very frustrating topic that just keeps coming up. I felt like it had died a little bit, and now he just comes out with this nonsense, but it fires everyone else up in a very similar way to Anthony. Last week on Thursday, me and you did a podcast about this, Tom. and he was absolutely battered by the press for doing a couple of pirouettes. He did 2 pirouettes, and the media slaughtered him.
Especially Robbie Savage.
There was a thing. Was it Hag that was on the sidelines that rolled his eyes when he did that or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Wasn't happy, and they hooked him off at half time. But that was apparently already premeditated, so that was pre-agreed that he would come off after 45 minutes. Erik ten Hag is the only person that should be criticising him to the level that the pundits did. So, I mean, Paul Scholes crucified him, Owen Hargreaves at half-time crucified him, and Robbie Savage was bringing it up.
Owen Hargreaves doesn't got a clue what he's talking about, though. That guy's just irrelevant.
The problem is that, again, we've had the same thing. So it was really funny when, at the beginning of the season, obviously, Rafinha goes, Phillips goes. Mm-hmm. And everybody then turns around, especially most of the idiots on sort of Talk Sport, where Leeds are finished. They've got rid of the best 2 players. And who have they brought in? Who are these guys? I've never heard of them. And I'm there going, you'd never heard of Rafinha. And now you're saying he's one of the best players in Europe. I'm like, don't criticise players that you've not heard of. Enjoy going, I don't know this kid. Let's see what he can do. Yeah, fair enough if 20 games in they're absolutely crap like Junior Firpo is and needs to go. Any Leeds fans listening, you disagree with me. Sorry, but he's trash. Always good for a yellow card in the first 5 minutes. But, it's just because you've not heard of these players doesn't mean that they're not quality. Nobody had heard of Brendan Aronson and Tyler Adams. Like, they knew they played, obviously, in the Red Bull system over in the States, it's a good system to play. But in regards to the Premier League, I mean, let's face it, no offence to any Americans watching, it's Mickey Mouse, behave. But they have proved that they can come to the Premier League and stand their ground. Aronson and Adams and Rocker have probably been 3 of our best signings this summer, and now everybody on the pundits I don't know who they are now turning around going their quality. Who was it? Jamie Carragher on Saturday was saying that Tyler Adams possesses all the abilities to be the captain. He's played 7 games.
Wow.
And Jamie Carragher saying he's got the potential to be a future Leeds captain, and us as the fans completely agree, because as much as Liam Cooper has come up with the team and been obviously in the Championship and come up with them and been their captain, I think his time not as a player is done, but definitely his time as a captain I think is finished. One thing that I will mention from the game on Saturday was a header that he headed on that nearly cost us a goal against Liverpool. Melier pulled off one of his, I think, maybe 7,000 amazing saves on Saturday.
Yeah, he played well, to be fair.
Amazing.
He definitely
there was a reason he was man of the match. There was a reason he was man of the match. And every other player around him rushed over to Melier. Well done, patting him on the back. Liam Cooper stands up like a spoilt child with his lip out, just kind of like, oh, I can't get anything right. No, you can't. You can't get anything right. But then there's been games that he's then said that he didn't want to play. He's the captain, and he's gone to Jesse Marsh and said, I don't feel 100%. And it's been games like your Man United, your Tottenham, your Liverpool, your City. And it's because he knows that he's good for 3 or 4 mistakes that are going to cost us the game. Mistakes that if weren't made, we could probably get points out of. Now, I like Liam Cooper. I feel like a bit more development and maybe not having the pressure of being captain on his shoulders, but he's not being a captain at the moment. And that's what kind of frustrates me. But, yeah.
You say about getting points. I mean, I'm going to call it early, but Manchester United at the moment, the form that we are in and the way that we are breaking teams down, I am so excited more than ever, I think, for the Manchester United and Leeds fixture. So whenever that rolls around,
it's always a spicy one.
I tell you something. The only thing that I hope, and in all honesty, I don't mind losing as long as we play. I don't mind losing as long as you have to beat us. Mm-hmm. If you have to beat us, then we've played well. Liverpool on Saturday, they were going to have to beat us because we weren't giving it them. Cooper tried his best, but Melier was on form.
They give it you.
Well, yeah.
Literally.
I think, and again, that's frustrated me as well because it's there's not a lot of talk about how well Leeds played. It was more to do with how poorly Liverpool played, and I'm like, but if it was the opposite way round, it'd be Liverpool are world class again, and Leeds are just back to normal Leeds. So I find that a bit unfair, but at the same time, we've got the points. That's all that matters to me.
What it is with that, it's because obviously, I think it's because Liverpool are obviously the bigger team, and they go into that game expecting to take the 3 points off you with,
100%.
With no fuss. So I think that's why the conversation's more on Liverpool played badly because they went in there expecting the win.
Yeah, but there's still a world class side at the end of the day. So you've still got to play. I watched the Nottingham Forest game. Nottingham Forest played very well for a newly promoted side to keep the bottle the way they did. They played exceptionally well.
They were the better side.
They were the better side.
I thought they were.
It's like,
I must admit, though, and again, I've got no sort of stake in this because obviously it's two rival clubs for me. But looking at that Leeds and Liverpool game, Liverpool were much the better team, but they just didn't take their chances. Leeds did, and that's what sometimes football just comes down to that. I don't think it was the Liverpool of old where they'd swamp you, but they did resort to long ball tactics.
Yeah, massively.
The cop was absolutely silent. So, I mean, check out a great YouTube. I mean, he's not really great. James Redmond TV, and he's a Liverpool fan. I watched it last night just because I enjoy feeding off the salty tears of Liverpool fans after a defeat, but definitely check it out because even in there he talks to a Leeds fan who says how quiet Anfield was, and I thought that as well. I thought Anfield's dead. Like,
to be fair, all game I heard was Leeds fans.
Yeah, I could hear marching on together, and that was it. On repeat, and it's handy.
It's nice to have fans like we do have because it's.
You say you have got a good set of fans like they do make some noise.
And you hear a lot of ex-footballers as well, and a lot of pundits saying where's tough to play, and a lot of players from old haven't had the chance because Leeds were in the Premier League for 16 years, but so many people keep saying the one place that I would have loved to play is Ellen Road. It's tough to go to as an away side because even when Leeds are 4-5-0 down, you'll still only hear the Leeds fans. You'll only ever hear the Leeds fans. Yeah, we start mocking, taking the mick out of ourselves, but the fan base is there. I don't think there's a lot of teams.
You've got to have some fun about it, though, isn't it?
Yeah, of course you do. That's exactly why we have the Leeds are falling apart again chant. It's probably my favourite, but it's great because you can sing it when you're 5-0 down, and you can sing it like we did at the Chelsea game when we were 3-0 up. Ironically, everybody's saying Leeds are going to fall apart, and sometimes we will, and and we'll get the result. But when it comes to sort of any game. Not just the Man U game, but that will be coming up after Christmas, obviously. I just want give a game, just play like we did against Liverpool, because at the end of the day, I know that Man United like playing against Leeds because they expect to get a game. It's gonna be a game, a proper football match, and I just hope that unlike the last couple of seasons, we can kind of learn from the mistakes and collect the form that we had on Saturday and manifest that for the future. The players they've found out what the quality is. They can play like that, and I know it's not that simple, but they just need to bottle that up now and just run head first into every team. If we lose 2-1, 3-1, but we've worked our ass off and played well, yes, I'll be gutted about the score, but it gives me hope for the next game. What I don't like is when we just sit back and get battered, and then I just go, well, we've got no chance, have we? But if we're playing and you can see the quality's there, and we got unlucky here, and okay, fair enough, Ronaldo smacked in a 30-yard goal.
That isn't going to happen. By the way, that is not going to happen.
But you know what I'm saying. It's we have a joke when I watch the games with my brother-in-law and my father-in-law, because they're both Leeds fans as well. Anybody that's they've been on the channel before, they just literally say, "Can you remember the last time somebody scored a good goal against us? Like a good goal, like a proper De Bruyne absolute thunderblast. They don't, because they know that they can just confuse our back line and just walk it into the back of the net. And at the end of the day, that's smart play from other teams. If you know how to break a team down and score, that's the whole point of the game.
Well, Peach just said in the chat, like he said, we love playing Leeds because they're the most counterable team in the Prem.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the thing. You do concede when you concede it. They are really easy and sloppy goals.
Yeah, he's just put under Bielsa. He's put under Bielsa. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, 100%.
But it was weird because obviously that season we were in the Premier League with Bielsa. It was like we lost. I think it was 6-2 to you.
Yeah.
And then we beat Tottenham 5-0, and it was like, hey.
How's that happened?
Yeah, that's the thing. You conceded a lot of goals, but
and then
you also scored
we ended up, I think, the end of that season scoring something like 43 goals and conceding 37. And it was like, at least we scored. It's kind of like when I play Call of Duty. At least I got 6 more kills than I did deaths. It's like, it's positive. But yeah, completely agree. We are probably the most countable team. You know, it's the Leicester game's a massive thing. They got in front, and they knew that they could just sit back now because we can't break down defence. You know, if Leeds get in front, they're difficult to then come back because they'll just keep kind of going. But I think it's very inconsistent at the moment, but a lot of positives to take from Saturday, and they need to take that into Bournemouth and just go one game at a time, just collect the points as and when you can. 3 points we need on Saturday against Bournemouth, like not even a draw, just 3 points. That shoots us up mid-table, and we can just breathe easy for the Tottenham game, because they're going to be tough, but then it'll give us that mental stability knowing, you know, if we're off the back of 2 wins, especially, you know, Bournemouth, yes, a newly promoted side, but are playing well. So you can't call them out.
The thing is, with Tottenham as well, I haven't seen them have a decent game this season, yet somehow they're like third.
Yeah, we'll give them one. You watch. Well,
please do.
Jordan was commenting on my thing the other day and said, you know, about the whole giant killers thing, and I messaged him back, and I was just like, yeah, you're nervous because you're next.
I tell you what, Leeds are quite similar to Brighton, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, very. That's why we always love the Brighton
teams.
Games. Yeah, like Brighton could come and lose 5-0, or they could do you 4-1 out of nowhere, and Leeds are very similar. I went to the Brighton game last season. Last home game of the season, where Strauch equalised in I think it was the 93rd minute. I think we had the most late ling goals in the. Well, it kept that point. Wouldn't have mattered if we'd have known we were going to beat Brentford, but obviously going into the Brentford game, it put us basically, we were 3 points ahead of Burnley, so we were just like, if Burnley, we were a point ahead of Burnley. Sorry, at that point. So in that Newcastle-Burnley game at the end of the season, if Burnley would have, if they would have drawn and we'd have drawn or lost, then we'd go down on goal difference. Obviously, Newcastle managed to beat them 2-0. We got confirmation that the game had finished, obviously, over at Burnley. And then hot and cold Harrison comes in with an absolute smasher into the bottom left and solidifies Leeds staying in the Premier League, which is ironic because Jack Harrison actually scored the first Premier League goal for Leeds in the Liverpool game, and then scored the last goal to keep us up in the Premier League. So yeah, hot and cold, but that was a crazy season last season, you know, because it came down to the last day. It's like, who's getting relegated and who's winning the league. Nothing was set in stone, and the games had to be played, which is obviously why they're all played at the same time, so no fixing can go on, but somebody can let the referees know that they're not supposed to fix games. That'd be lovely.
Well, going back to your comment very quickly, that you said about, obviously it was tongue-in-cheek, the comment. I assumed it was tongue-in-cheek when you asked if I was scared of the Leeds game.
There's a little bit of sincerity behind it, just a little bit.
No, I can understand that. I think I got laughed at, I think it was last season and the season before, a few of my mates. I said, look, I'm always nervous when we play Leeds. When you had Bielsa, I always thought they're a team, because we haven't been in great form for the last few seasons.
I think last season we were scared about playing anybody.
Yeah, I mean, last year was just bizarre. But even before that, though, even under Ollie, I was very nervous about when Leeds first came back up. I thought this is a fixture to watch out for. Going into it this time, I am so excited for this game because I am so excited to see what Erik ten Hag comes up with or thinks up, because he has been an unbelievable change to Manchester United this season. Yeah. He's taken us not even up one level, 2 or 3 levels he's taken us.
I tell you what we'll do. We'll do another podcast just before the Man U and Leeds game, and depending on our previous results, I'll let you know how I feel about it going into the game.
We get our stream running.
Yeah,
we definitely need to do that. But before we wrap this up tonight, I just want to get your thoughts on this. 2 things. If Jesse Marsch loses against Bournemouth and the next game, is he gone?
I think, in all honesty, even though contradicting that I said that I liked him earlier on, I think after the performance against Liverpool and what he can produce and what the players can produce, there is no excuse that we should lose to Bournemouth on Saturday. Mm-hmm. So if we cannot beat Bournemouth on Saturday, then there is a serious, serious problem. And that's not me slagging off Bournemouth to say that, the rubbish. They're not. But when you look on paper at the quality of players that they have and we have, that it should be no contest. It should literally be no contest.
If you're looking at that with the quality of player, the quality that Leeds have, they shouldn't even be fighting in the bottom half.
We should have. We were 2-0 up against Southampton. They drew 2-2. That's ridiculous. We drew 2-2 with Everton. Now, okay, fair enough. Everton are having a better season this season. Lampard's clearly sorted his head, screwed his head on and stuff from last season because, again, his job was on the line last season. And if it wasn't for that, that win against Chelsea, that random win against Chelsea at the end of last season, Lampard would have gone and they would have been fighting relegation with basically a relief manager, which I don't think is ever good for any team. So, I think we should have beat Everton. Villa, any Villa fans out there, I do apologise, but they've been absolutely shocking. They win 4-0 last week, but then look what happens this weekend. They get absolutely pulled apart by Newcastle, and Newcastle looked like they weren't. Yeah, they didn't even look like they didn't even look like they got out of second gear. They were just scored. It was almost like it was a friendly, like a pre-season friendly. They just absolutely tore them to bits. They
next few seasons.
I tell you something. The Cities, the Liverpools, the Man Uniteds, and the Tottenhams. You all need to watch out for Newcastle because the backing that they've got and the business that they're doing is, I'd say, some of the best decisions I've seen made in football for a very long time.
This season, I can't wait for Newcastle versus Liverpool.
Do you know what? Yeah. I mean, and I can't wait for Leeds versus Newcastle, to be honest. Cause
are you sure?
No, I'm feeling it. I think we're doing well against teams that are good.
Yeah, that's a problem though.
So yeah, it is a problem,
not exactly
which is
a positive.
No, it's not. But I'm taking every positive that I can, and it's just like we got the result against Chelsea. We've got the result against Liverpool. Right, well done. Get the result against... I think all we need is results against some of them lower teams, and then, like in our first season, something will just click. Now, I'm not saying we're going to go on a mad tear and end up in the top 4. That's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, I'm hoping if they can just pull themselves together and just bottle that energy that they had on Saturday and the way they played, we could get to February and not have to worry about relegation. That's all I'm worried about. If you gave me a contract now that said, right, sign here, Leeds finish 14th, I wouldn't think twice. I would sign it on the dot. I wouldn't think twice.
Leeds are missing like Dan James, aren't they? That pace.
Oh, don't even.
They need that pace down the wing.
Let's buy him in the Championship for 3 mil. Oh no, they didn't sign the contract. Okay, he goes to Man United. Okay, Man United don't want him. We'll sign him for 30 million. Yes, we've got Dan James. Actually, he's not as good as we think he is. We'll sell him. Yeah, because you're not playing him his position, you div.
He can be good on his day.
He's cracking. But he never played in the position.
He's really, really fast as well.
He's rapid. He is rapid. He'll come back. Obviously, he's on loan at Fulham at the moment, and he's not getting a lot of game time at Fulham. And in all honesty, I think what should have happened is we should get rid of Junior Firpo and we bring back Dan James. And we train him to play in the left back. But we are lacking a left back. And Junior Firpo, how the hell he played for Barcelona is beyond me. And I'm.
Are you on about having Dan James in left back?
Yeah.
Left wing back, that's not a bad shout.
Yeah.
Left wing back for Dan James. That pace on the side. He can. Yeah, that's the thing. But he wasn't played.
A workhorse as well.
Because the problem is that because he was playing last season when we were absolutely riddled with injuries, the amount of times that Bielsa and then Marsch stuck him in the number 10 role, that's not his position. Yes, he can score goals, but not from that position. Dan James would be perfect working on the opposite side to Harrison. Harrison on right wing back, get him there, and then you've got Harrison to whip the balls in. You've got Dan James on the other side to control that and then defend at the back. Plus as well, it then doesn't make me worry about Liam Cooper so much at the back because he'd have Dan James alongside him and he'd have that pace. Cooper continuously plays the ball back to Meslier because Firpo is too busy walking or fixing his moustache at the side of the pitch. So when a role like that is being played so terribly, it gets to a point that we as Leeds fans are saying, we're really missing like the likes of Alioski, kind of missing Alioski. Berardi was a great player. I'll always never understand why they got rid of Pablo Hernandez because he was just amazing. And I really want Stuart Dallas back. But I just hope that, the quality that he possesses after being out with obviously such a bad injury for so long, that they can pick up kind of from where he left off, because another player that we sorely miss. Now the signings that we've had have really helped and to pull kind of some of them positions away. Rasmus Christensen has been playing really well, bit inconsistent, but when he plays well, he plays very well. Tyler Adams I can't fault at the minute. Rocker is brilliant, again has a few slip ups, but every player does. And Sinistera just needs an absolute standing ovation. I tell you something, if we had Sinistera in the Arsenal game, I genuinely think we'd have won that. But then you can't rely on one player. You have to have the quality to come in, and that's the issue. Bielsa wanted a small squad. Jesse's trying his best to bulk it out, but I think the board are pulling back on a lot of his. They're trying to do it on the cheap, essentially, and I think they're being a bit naive. Saying that we have 2 international number 9s in our squad is a joke. Bamford has played 1 game for England and wasn't brilliant. Rodrigo obviously has got the quality there, but his distribution is god awful. So yes, they may be international, doesn't necessarily mean that they're world class. So definitely need a striker, definitely need a left back in January. We get those, I'm confident that we start going places.
Well, I'm glad you've actually brought this up, because this was my final question that I wanted to put to you. Now, everyone that knows me, everyone that's in the streams on our end, knows I am a humongous Cody Gakpo fan. Now, obviously, he has been linked with a move.
Here we go.
He's not coming Leeds, is he? He's not.
I wanted to get your thoughts on whether or not he was coming, but you've already answered that.
Look, right.
You tried to sign him at the start of the season.
I don't know. Right, I'll give you an honest answer. If we can get him, 100%, you bring him in. I don't care. If you can afford him, you bring him in. When obviously it came about that we were in for him, and obviously he was thinking about it, I was like, oh, that's surprising. I think he would be the kind of person to move us forward, because obviously he'd fulfill that striker role, which is where we're suffering. If we can get him, brilliant. Yes. My honest opinion, I really don't think, with the quality that he is, there's other teams that will want him, and I think we'll snap him up.
If you're Cody Gakpo right now, you see all this interest from all these bigger clubs. You don't go to Leeds or any of these other teams, do you? You go to like Man United or any other teams, in La Liga or whatever. So it's going to be a hard one to get for Leeds.
Now, don't get me wrong. If Leeds was sitting comfortably in, like, say, 5th or 6th place now, that might sway his decision a bit more, because he might then like the challenge of taking a team that's 6th and maybe getting them up to 4th and 3rd, and then capitalising on it next season and getting them to 2nd or 1st. That's a challenge, but it's a realistic challenge from that position. You don't look at a team that's 15th at the moment, only just 15th on goal difference in the Premier League, 11 games in, and go, that's the team for me. That's the team for me.
Especially if you've got interest from bigger clubs.
Now,
but I would also bring up, though,
exactly.
because even though you do say he's got interest from bigger clubs, whether or not clubs like, for example, Manchester United, whether they would sanction a move for Cody Gakpo. Now, obviously, our board is just on another level. They don't seem to understand football.
Funny you should mention that, because I just got a comment off Pete. Sorry to interrupt. He's put Gakpo will go to Leeds or Southampton. I'm sure he won't. I'm sure we won't spend the money. #Glazers out.
But isn't it only a 30 million? Only 30 million euros in his release clause?
This is the thing.
30 million thing. But you look at signings over the past.
I'm sorry, if we're spending 80 million on Harry Maguire, we can spend that on Cody Gakpo.
Harry Maguire.
We sign players that sell shirts. We don't sign players like Cody Gakpo.
Yeah. To be honest, I only ever see United post about like buying things from their store. That's all I ever see.
Man United have just they're a global brand, Man United now, and that's what they set out to do. They knew that they had the quality there to play good football. The next thing they needed to do was work on the brand and make that worldwide, and they've done that now. So it's like, well, you're a worldwide brand. Well done, right? You've achieved that now. Right now, bring in the players that are going to win you some trophies again, because it's been very dark and very dull at Old Trafford. No, not obviously referring to the football, but in regards to sort of title wins, a team that used to absolutely dominate every season has gone unheard of, and essentially the Giant is very much asleep at the moment and needs a good kick in the balls to wake back up. And I think
eventually we'll be back, but
I think you will.
It's going to take a while.
I've got every bit of faith, but I do agree with Pete though. I do think it's maybe not as far fetched as we think to see Gakpo at a Leeds or a Southampton. Because as well, players don't always get a say. Players don't always get to see the bigger picture. They can be sold the idea of going to Leeds or Southampton and say, look, they're in a relegation scrap. You go to the Premier League, score a few goals, you'll be snapped up when they go down.
Yeah, that's essentially what will happen. Which is why, part of me thinks that he would kind of come to us. I mean, it's hard, isn't it? Because, you'll have Southampton fans saying, oh, well, if he's got the choice between Leeds and Southampton, he'll come to us. Then Leeds fans will go, well, why would you want to go there? I think a lot of players that come to Leeds, obviously, they look at a lot of history of the club, and the amount of people. There was a short documentary that was done on YouTube when Leeds came up to the Premier League, and it was really nice to actually hear, because they interviewed fans from different clubs, and they interviewed players from all sorts of clubs, and you had the likes of Man United, Man City, West Ham and stuff, and the amount of people, as much as we all hate Leeds scum and we are dirty Leeds and proud,
I've not said it yet.
No comment.
A lot of people will agree that Leeds as a club and as a historical club, we don't belong down there. But then my argument is if we don't belong down there, then keep yourself up. Because if you're not winning, you do belong down there, don't you? Simple as. After the Leicester game, I genuinely, honestly, I didn't give up on the lads, but part of me was starting to think, well, maybe if we do go down, it might help us. Give you that scare, like you're back here.
Is it? How different is it from, say, a Leeds fan's perspective? Because obviously, from a Man United fan's perspective, we were always a big team, we were always winning, and now that we haven't won anything, it's one of them. We're set.
Oh, it's stuttery.
We lost you then, Tom. Can you repeat that question?
Just repeat that, would you, mate?
How far? Where did you get up to?
Basically, I heard, how different is it?
I was saying, how different is it from a Leeds fan's perspective or any other team down there compared to us who are Man United fans who, we've always had success or whatever, and now we haven't. we're kind of like sick of it and blah blah blah. But from like a fan from like Leeds, you've never really had it. So like
well, it's strange.
It's got to be a different perspective, isn't it?
It is mega because I mean, I am just old enough to remember Leeds in the Premier League. Like, I say just, I think I was about 13 when they got relegated. Obviously they won the division that it was before the Premier League. They were the last winners of that. That was. But you look at Leeds United and their golden eras. You're talking like late 60s, early 70s. That's when Leeds were giants of football. And obviously I didn't see that. I wasn't born at that point. So I think for us now, we've seen how a club that we feel is so iconic like Leeds can go down and suffer and go further down and claw your way back up to then get to this point now after 16 years. Some kids weren't born and only know Leeds in the Championship. They only know Leeds in the as a Championship side. So to claw our way back now to where I believe we belong, it then comes down kind of to the owners. I don't want them to be naive, because at the end of the day, it's a business for them. And the more you're winning, the more money you make as a business. And the way you make money is to spend money. And that's what they need to wrap their head around these first few seasons in the Premier League. This is our third season in the Premier League now. And again, struggling start. Decent results here and there, but not good enough. They need to invest to then take out later on down the line when we can start competing for stuff. So I think...
Say you go back down to the Championship. Do you class winning the title there as a success?
I think personally, you need to, if your side is struggling, as a fan, I think you always need to. I try and stay as positive as humanly possible, which with football sometimes is really, really difficult. If we go back down and we win the league again and come back up, I would take that as, I would. I'd take it as an achievement. But it would be a stepping stone achievement, because it would be, right, you've been up, you've had a taste, you got knocked back down, this is chance number 2, and these chances aren't going to keep coming. The last thing I want to be is like Fulham, they're up, then they're down, then they're up, then they're down, then they're up, then they're down, and it must be good for them, but I'm 31 years old, my heart can't take that. Getting relegated last game of the season and then having the high of coming up and then getting... Honestly, I'll look probably like 80 years old by the time I'm 34 if that happens. I can't do it. So they just need... we've got all this interest with the 49ers and stuff coming on. One of my friends that I've met, Jay Lynch, actually managed to get an interview with one of the shareholders for the 49ers and explained kind of... anything he could about what that takeover would be. But in my head, the 49ers would be a better fit than Radrizzani. Radrizzani's been amazing, throughout the sort of the COVID times and us coming up and giving full support. But it's like as soon as we've got to the Premier League, he's then kind of gone, oh, well, these players absolutely bossed it in the Championship, so he should be fine. And it's like, that's not how it works. That is just not how it works anymore. There didn't seem to be any change. He was like, oh, this team can win the Premier League. And I'm like, are you on crack? Like, he said at the beginning of this season, it is impossible for Leeds to be relegated. And us as fans said, you are dangerously naive with how this league is played. And obviously, literally, Liverpool game, we were 18th. So he needs to sort his head out.
Up and down league, and like you said before when we were talking about Liverpool, it's a league where you can be so close to relegation. And Liverpool are 5 points, 6 points off the relegation zone.
5 points off relegation and 8 points off top 4 or top 6. Sorry.
Crazy.
Which because it's that thing, you know. Leeds are now 3 points off the bottom three, but only 8 points off the top six. It's a crazy season.
Yeah.
You know, you think we get 3 points at Bournemouth. This is always what I think. You get 3 points at Bournemouth, you go up to 12th. You get 3 points at Tottenham, you go up to 7th. It's ridiculous, the jump you can make. But then to counteract that, you get a couple of bad results, you're going to drop pretty quick as well. So
sure.
I think that's why Liverpool are concerned, because even where they are, now 8th place, there's only 4 points between us and Liverpool in 15th. So I think that's why they're concerned, but that's why we're excited. Do you get what I mean? So for so it's at the end of the day, football's never dull. No season's ever dull for every team, and I think this season's going to have a couple of surprises up its sleeve, whether that be who gets relegated, who wins the league, who manages to squeeze in top 4, who misses out on top 4. You know, it's one of them things that if you could call what would happen at the beginning of every season, you'd be a very, very rich person. A very, very rich person. So I just enjoy watching majority of the time, and no matter the result, like any fan should, I will support Leeds until the day I die, regardless of what league they're in.
How it should be. Well,
that being said, please stay up.
Well, thank you so much for having this conversation, and I was going to say thank you for joining us this evening, but obviously we've joined you technically tonight. Well, technical hiccup, so thank you for hosting us and having us.
No problem.
And it's been lovely to hear your point of view and your passion really for your club. I mean, that's what the whole reason we want to do this on a Monday or every other Monday, just so we can gauge what other teams are doing and basically hear what you guys are doing as content creators as well. So loving the channel, obviously buzzing for you guys for the weekend's result. It felt very weird me cheering on Leeds. It was like two clubs that historically I'm been sort of bred to despise.
That was kind of the same, because I'm not a huge West Ham fan, so I'm kind of glad that you did them as well, to be honest. So it was a bit of a I think, anybody that wasn't a Liverpool fan or a Leeds fan on Saturday seemed to be kind of an honorary Leeds fan, because everybody just wants to see Liverpool do poorly.
Without a doubt.
So, especially, the amount of Man City fans that I had tweeting at me on Saturday after that were just like, what a game. Because obviously there's no bad blood between Leeds and City whatsoever. The amount of City fans were just like, what a game, and well done Leeds, and imagine they were all winning City 1-0 and then losing 2-1 to losing 1-0 to Forest and then 2-1 to Leeds. That's from a team like that, that's not great. It's not good. It's great for me, and I'll take it, but Jurgen Klopp can dry his eyes, can't he? He'll be alright.
Oh well, hopefully he can keep giving us the salt of his tears. I must admit, it is helping me stay happy at this moment in time. Well, thank you as ever, Josh. Thank you as well.
Thank you for thank you.
Thank you.
It's been really nice talking to you, and we'll do this again definitely before the Man United and Leeds game.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you very much, and thank you for everybody for tuning in. Definitely, and I hope your skin didn't burn too much being on a Leeds channel.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you to everyone in the comments as well. Thank you.
Appreciate it. See you later.